Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be taking a deep dive into AI today. All the latest stuff happening, big breakthroughs and, hot topics. All the things that anyone who's interested in AI, whether they're, tech savvy or just kind of getting into it, would want to know about. So imagine, waking up to headlines about these giant quantum leaps in computing and AI that can like practically dream in video. Sounds like sci-fi, right?
It does.
But that's what we're going to be getting into today. And we're not just talking dry facts and figures here. We're going to talk about, how this stuff could actually impact you, your job, the world around you. So one of the things that really caught my eye was this this thing that Google's calling this quantum leap in computing with their new Willow chip. Now, before we all get lost in the, the quantum physics of it all, can you break down what this quantum leap actually means, like for the average person,
Yeah, so think of it this way. Traditional computers use bits, which can be either a 0 or a 1. But quantum computers use qubits, which can be both 0 and 1 at the same time.
Right.
So it allows them to perform these calculations in a totally different way than a regular computer would. And it lets them tackle problems that would take, a classical computer literally millions of years to solve.
Okay, so we're talking about a whole different level of computing power then. But what does that actually mean, like practically?
Well, one really cool example is how Willow was used. To simulate this chemical reaction, it's really important for making fertilizer. Normally, this process takes a ton of energy and resources, but Willow was able to simulate it in just minutes.
Wow.
So this kind of speed and efficiency, it could totally change everything from material science to, discovering new drugs.
Yeah, so it's not just about theoretical speed then. It's like,
Yeah,
it's stuff that could actually impact our lives. That's pretty amazing.
it is, yeah.
So, speaking of AI systems that just sound like almost too good to be true, there's been a lot of talk about OpenAI's new video generator, Sora. They're calling it AI that can dream in video, which honestly sounds kind of mind-blowing. So what is going on there?
So basically, imagine typing in a description like, a majestic eagle soaring over a snow-capped mountain range at sunset, and then having Sora create a video of that, like a photorealistic video, in just minutes.
Wow.
That's essentially what technology can do. It takes these text prompts and turns them into video sequences that are just so realistic and detailed.
I've seen some of the sample videos, and they're pretty impressive. It almost feels like magic, But I gotta admit, I'm also a little bit wary. It seems like this kind of tech could be misused pretty easily, especially with all the worries about deepfakes and misinformation going around.
Right. Yeah, you're right to be cautious. I mean, there's definitely potential for misuse. And OpenAI has said themselves that, ethical considerations are really important and responsible development is key. They've said that Sora is supposed to be a tool that helps human creativity, not replaces it.
Right. So instead of like replacing filmmakers and animators, it's more about giving them a new tool to work with.
Exactly. Like, imagine a filmmaker using Sora to quickly try out different scenes or visual effects, or a teacher creating these really immersive videos to teach with. The possibilities are pretty huge. It's going to be really interesting to see how creative people start using it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
On one hand, you've got all this incredible potential. It could solve some of the world's biggest problems. But then on the other hand, you've got these real concerns about misuse and making sure it benefits all of humanity.
Yeah, for sure. It's complex, and it needs a really nuanced approach. As we learn more about these advancements, it's important to think about both the good and the bad.
Well said. And one of the potential downsides that's been a hot topic lately is the impact of AI on jobs. There's a lot of fear about AI taking over our jobs. So is that like a valid concern, or are we just overreacting?
It's definitely a valid concern, and it's one we should talk about. There's no doubt that AI is going to automate some tasks and roles, which could lead to people losing jobs in some areas. But it's not as simple as robots replacing humans.
So it's not like an us versus them kind of thing. It's more complicated.
Much more. I think in many cases, AI is going to help people in their existing jobs by making them more efficient and productive. Like, AI tools can help doctors analyze medical images much quicker and more accurately, which frees up more of their time to focus on patient care.
Right, so it's not necessarily about eliminating jobs altogether. It's more like AI might change what those jobs look like and require new skills and expertise.
Yeah, exactly. The key is to kind of adapt and evolve as this technology changes, and that means focusing on skills that complement AI, like critical thinking and problem solving, creativity, emotional intelligence, things like that.
I've been seeing a lot of discussion about that on LinkedIn, about the need for more human-centric skills as AI becomes more prominent.
Yeah, I think those skills are going to be more valuable than ever. As AI starts taking over those more routine tasks, the things that make us human are going to be even more important in the workplace.
That's good to hear. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom then. It sounds like there's a lot of potential for positive change and, new opportunities if we approach this the right way.
Definitely. It's about embracing change, being open to learning new things, and recognizing that AI can be a really powerful tool for good if we use it responsibly.
Couldn't agree more. So now let's talk about AI safety
Yeah.
because, there have been a few incidents recently that have raised concerns about the risks of AI, and I think
Mhm.
it's important to talk about that openly and honestly.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, it's crucial to have these conversations and to approach AI development with safety and ethics as a priority. And there have been some encouraging developments in that area, like the creation of tougher testing protocols and safety measures.
Can you give us like some concrete examples of what these protocols actually look like? Like what steps are being taken to make sure AI is safe and reliable?
Yeah, so one example is what DeepMind's doing. They're testing AI systems before they're actually used in the real world. They're using something called red teaming, where a team of experts try to find weaknesses in the AI system. It's kind of like a really advanced game of cat and mouse, designed to really push the AI and see if it breaks.
Interesting. So it's like having someone playing devil's advocate to make sure the AI is robust. Are there other examples of safety measures being put in place?
Definitely, yeah. Another important area is making AI systems more explainable. That means we can understand how the AI came to a decision or made a recommendation, and that's super important for building trust and making sure AI is used responsibly.
Right. It makes sense. If we're going to let AI make important decisions, we need to be able to understand how it got there. It can't just be a black box.
Exactly. And this all ties into the bigger conversation about AI ethics and governance. As AI gets more powerful and more widespread, we need to create clear rules and regulations to make sure it's used ethically and safely.
Yeah, it feels like this is a really crucial moment. Like we're at a point where we need to decide what kind of future we want to build with AI. It's exciting, but it's also a little bit scary.
It's definitely both. And that's what makes this topic so fascinating and important. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about the choices we make as we move forward with it.
Well said. So as we're getting toward the end of this deep dive into all this new stuff happening in I think it's good to step back and reflect on what we've learned. We talked about quantum leaps in computing, the crazy potential of AI video generation, how it might impact jobs, and the importance of AI safety and ethics. So for you, what stands out as the most important takeaway?
Hmm. I think the biggest takeaway for me is the need to find a balance. We need to celebrate all the good that AI can do, but also be aware of the challenges and concerns. It's not about being overly optimistic or pessimistic. It's about being informed and thoughtful and really understanding what this technology means for us.
I agree completely. And for our listeners who are just starting to learn about AI, what advice would you give them? Where should they start? What resources are helpful?
I'd say just start by being curious. Read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts. Just dive into the world of AI and don't be afraid to ask questions. There's tons of great stuff online, from websites to online courses that can teach you the basics.
That's great advice. And as we keep exploring this ever-changing world of I think it's important to remember that we're all in this together. We need to keep talking about it, sharing our thoughts, and working together to make sure AI benefits everyone.
Absolutely.
It really does feel like we're all in this together, figuring out this uncharted territory and
Right.
trying to use AI for good,
Yeah, it's a team effort.
for sure. So as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave our listeners with a question to think about. In a world where AI is changing so fast and backing, reshaping our lives in big ways, how do you see your place in the future? What can you do today to get ready for those changes?
That's a really good question to consider. It's about being proactive, always learning, and staying involved in this ongoing conversation.
Well said. I'm already looking forward to our next deep dive, where we'll be exploring the really interesting world of AI ethics and how AI could help us solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
Sounds great. I'm excited for that one.
Until then, stay curious, keep learning, and remember, in the world of AI, the only thing that's constant is change.
See you next time. Yeah, it's like we're sailing in uncharted waters. Got to be ready to adapt and learn as we go. The journey's just as important as the destination.
I like that. That's a great analogy. Speaking of uncharted waters, though, I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room. AI safety. There have been some, pretty big incidents lately that have made people worry about the risks of AI. And I think it's important to talk about those worries,
Hmm?
openly and honestly.
Yeah, definitely. It's really important to have these conversations and to approach AI development with a focus on safety and ethics. And the good news is there have been some positive steps in that direction, like the development of stricter testing and safety measures.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Can you give some specific examples of those? Like, what are people actually doing to make sure AI is safe and reliable?
Sure. So, one example is what DeepMind is doing. They're testing AI systems in a really rigorous way before they're released into the real world. They use something called red teaming, where a team of experts basically tries to break the AI system. They try to find its weaknesses and see if it can be exploited. It's like a super advanced game of cat and mouse.
So it's kind of like having a built-in devil's advocate then, to make sure the AI is really robust. Are there any other examples of safety measures being implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. Another important area is developing AI systems that are explainable, which basically means we can understand how the AI made a decision or how it came up with a recommendation. This is really important for building trust in AI and ensuring that it's used responsibly.
That makes sense. If we're going to rely on AI to make important decisions,
Yeah.
we need to be able to understand its reasoning, right? It can't just be a mysterious black box.
Exactly. And this all ties into the bigger conversation about AI ethics and governance. As AI gets more and more powerful and integrated into our lives, we need to have clear guidelines and regulations in place to make sure it's used for good and that the risks are minimized.
It feels like we're at a really crucial point in history. We have to decide what kind of future we want to create with AI. It's exciting and a little bit daunting at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. It's both exciting and a little scary, which is what makes it such a fascinating and important topic to discuss. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about the choices we make as we develop and use it.
Well said. So, as we're wrapping up this deep dive into all the latest developments in I think it's important to just take a moment to reflect. We've talked about so much, from quantum computing to AI, video generation, the potential impact on jobs, the importance of safety and ethics. What stands out to you as the most significant takeaway from our conversation?
For me, the biggest takeaway is that we need to find a balance. We should celebrate the incredible potential of AI, but also be realistic about the challenges and risks. It's not about being blindly optimistic or overly pessimistic. It's about approaching AI with a sense of informed curiosity and really thinking critically about its implications for humanity.
I couldn't agree more. And for our listeners who are new to the world of AI, what advice would you give them? Where should they start? What resources would you recommend?
I think the best place to start is with curiosity. Read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts. Just immerse yourself in the world of AI. And don't be afraid to ask questions. There are so many great resources available online, from educational websites to online courses, that can give you a solid understanding of the basics.
That's great advice. And as we continue to explore this ever-evolving world of AI, it's important to remember that we're all in this together. We need to keep having these conversations, sharing our perspectives, and working collaboratively to make sure AI benefits everyone. It really does feel like we're all kind of figuring this out together, right? Trying to navigate this new world of AI and make sure we're using it for the right reasons.
Yeah, it's a collective effort for sure.
Definitely. So before we wrap up today, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. In a world where AI is changing so rapidly and having such a big impact on our lives, how do you see yourself fitting into this future? What can you do, like right now, to prepare for the changes that are coming?
Hmm, that's a great question. I think it's about being proactive, always being willing to learn new things and staying engaged with what's happening in the world of AI.
I love that. Always be learning, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of learning, I'm already excited for our next deep dive. We're going to be talking about AI ethics, which is such a fascinating topic, and how AI could potentially help us solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a good one. Looking forward to it.
Me too. So until then, everyone, stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, the only thing that's constant in the world of AI is change.
See you next time.